And that's what I mean. We don't have to always figure everything out. Don't get stuck by the fear of trying to figure the entire process of what creating an online training takes or a podcast. Just take the next step, and then the next step will become clear, right? Or clearer. So we just tend, as people, it's just a human thing. We tend to want to know what all the answers are before we'll even start. And fear, that's where fear just stops us. So, again, recognizing that fear has control of you and the choices you're making, that's a big component of being successful in this. And then learning these little tips and techniques of how to move forward become a lot easier.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So with that being said, let's move on to the next question, which is, what's one of your daily habits that you strongly believe contributes to your success?
Yeah. Fortunately or unfortunately, depending on how you want to look at it, getting up at 5 a.m. for 20 straight years in the military, we had a different reason for getting up then. It was called fallout. Yeah. That's how you started your day. But now I wake up at 5 o'clock pretty much every day without an alarm clock. And I used to get mad about it, but then it became the best part of the day for me. And when it comes to mindset, here's my tips on it. That's my time of the day for just me. I'm up before everybody else in my house. They think I'm crazy, right? Because why do you get up so early? Because I get to set the tone of my day right then. As soon as we wake up, I want everybody to hear this. You have a choice to make the moment your eyes open. Are you just going to, shut the alarm clock off, put your feet on the ground and hit the ground running? Because if you do, you're just living out of habit. I'm telling you right now. If you're not being intentional about the very first thing you do when your eyes open, you are setting yourself up for a negative mindset kind of day, because you are just going to react to everything that happens to you instead of visualize what your day is going to be like, speak what your day is going to be like into your mind. My morning routine is the thing I will defend and the thing that I will give the most credit, for my success. It's the time that I pray. It's it's my time. I don't turn on any TV. I hate the news. It sets you up for a negative mindset. I don't care if it's even ESPN. You're gonna get ticked off about a sports score or something else. Don't have any outside influences on your mind when you first wake up. Give yourself some time. If you have to roll right out of bed and get in the shower, awesome. Use that time in the shower intentionally to set your mind right for the day. I know one guy, he goes so far as he prays before he ever puts his feet on the ground. He prays while he's still on his back in his bed, because he believes that as soon as his feet hit the ground, he's in spiritual warfare the rest of the day. So that's his only peaceful time. And I just thought that was pretty amazing. I had never taken it quite that far. But I think if everybody listening would just think about what you normally do every day, you literally probably get up to the sound of an alarm clock and you hit the ground running in a routine that you do over and over and over and over. And you aren't intentionally really thinking about any of the choices you're making. I swear to God, there's days when my body could probably, if I didn't do my morning routine, my body could probably go through the day without me. I mean, I like routine. Routine is a good thing. It's discipline, it's consistency. There's a number of good things to that. But what most of us are never taught how to do is be really intentional in our thinking and our mindset. And that's what we're talking about tonight.
Yeah, that's good stuff. And, that made me realize that, that's something that I think I'm going to try, because that's not what I do. I do exactly the opposite of that. The alarm goes off, I hit it, I jump up out of the bed and I go start that daily routine that I do every single day. Yeah. I'm an early riser too. And I think that my favorite time of the day is also in the morning, but I don't necessarily take advantage of it like you do. And I can see how that could help you develop a positive mindset for the rest of that day. That's good stuff.
Yeah, because you don't know what you're going to face that day, right? So it's just good to put yourself in the mind frame of, and again, I talk a lot about knowing who I am. Not what I do for a living, not the fact that I'm a father and all that, but the kind of man that I am. And I talk to myself, like, what kind of man are you going to be today? Right. And how are you going to show up today? Are you going to give it your all today? And I have those kind of internal conversations with myself. Now, first thing I do though, is I get a cup of coffee. I'm not going to lie. Right. I like to do this kind of meditative thought with my coffee. There's no doubt about that. But I definitely avoid radio, TV, anything that can influence what is going to go into my mind. I want to have the internal dialogue and the dialogue of prayer between me and my God. And that's how I start my day. So
makes for a good day.
It does. It definitely helps, because then when the tough stuff comes, at least I've put a foundation under my feet, right? If you can get that picture in your mind. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. So tell us about a challenging time, or it could be a situation that you or your company faced, but you persisted, you made it through, you made the tough decisions. And now that once painful memory serves as an invaluable learning experience.
Sure. I thought about this one a little bit, because I will admit to your listeners, you did give me, some of these questions to think about. And this one, I wanted to try to stay focused on mindset. I've got a personal story of overcoming bullying and alcoholism and a number of other things. But this one was about mindset. And, just a couple of years ago, Mike, you've known me this whole time. When I had that consulting firm, I was a partner in that consulting firm. There were 5 of us who were partners. And we had just bought ourselves away from our parent company in 2015. And we were trying to take this company in a new direction, from a consulting firm to a healthcare IT products, a services firm with cloud-based services, similar to your online training stuff. We were providing online applications for healthcare businesses to use. And, we did our first round of fundraising to help buy us away from the parent company. And that was all stressful. And then about a year later, Mike, we were literally within 2 to 3 days of being completely out of cash. Our investor was not going to give us any more. And fear. When your first question, this whole thing today is kind of around how do you deal with fear and keep your mindset. I got to tell you that the 5 of us were, as individuals, we were going home and we were having to talk to our spouses, and as you can imagine, a company's about to go under. You've put a lot of personal money in it. You got investors you got to pay off. A couple of us had, mortgaged some properties against it. There was stress, would be an understatement. Okay. And it didn't, we were trying to deal with our own individual stress as individuals. And as you can imagine, maybe I was a little bit better at it than some of my other guys, because, while I worked with them, I had never taught them the way you and I have, talked as friends. Even it's strange when I think back on it now. Like, why didn't I share this before this day? But this day is the one that turned the corner for us, because we could tell that Ray and I were the 2 primary, leaders there. And we could tell that, man, I think everybody's going to jump ship. I think they're going to, they're too scared. So we all just came into Ray's office and we sat around and we talked about it. Like we really got open with each other about what we were scared about. And I think this is the key point that I want to take. When a lot of times when we get overcome by something in life, and especially a fear, and it grips us and we can't figure it out because we can't see a way out of it, we tend to shut down, right? We don't open up and talk to another human being about it. And a lot of times bad stuff happens and we just sit back and go, yeah, I knew it. There wasn't anything I could do. Yeah, there was something you could do. Takes a little courage, but that day, I'll never forget when we came together and we just talked about what we were all most afraid of. And then you start putting stuff on the whiteboard. Like, okay, what's the worst that can happen? All right, well, if that happens, what's that really mean? And you start really kind of peeling it back. Then we were able to see it and go, okay, that's probably not going to happen. That's probably an unfounded fear. That one's, and so you could start to get some courage back as a group, right? So when you stand alone, it's hard to walk courageously through something. But, even the Bible tells us where 2 or more stand together, right, you can conquer. 3 is even better, right? So this thing about trying to face fear on your own, I served our country for 20 years. So did you, Mike. look, I love what we stand for, but there's some things we learned growing up, at least I did, that a man has to stand on his own, that he has to fight his own fights, that you have to pull yourself up by your bootstraps by yourself. I think that has done us some disservice, right? I know it's meant to motivate us to do the best we can as individuals, but if you're stuck in something, you got to find somebody to help you see it from a different perspective. And that's what's important about coming together. And that day when we came together, once we were able to kind of share what we were all scared about, then we were also able to work together to find the solution. And then we found the solution, we turned it around, and about a year later, we sold it for a decent sum of money, right? We sold the firm for a decent sum of money, which was what we were always trying to do. But we were just a couple days from quitting, right? And because fear just had all of us. And fear, as it took control of the whole company, because we were each going to individually withdraw and go, well, if I'm going to get hurt, I'm only going to get hurt this much by myself. Man, there's a lot on the line when you run a company. If you're in charge of a police, department, or if, you know what I'm saying? I mean, you got to take your job as a leader really seriously and go, there's more to it than just me. And that's why you got to work with more people than just you. If you're the leader, that just means you have more responsibility than the people you are in charge of. That's all. It doesn't mean you have to do everything on your own. Sometimes your best ideas will come from your people. You just have the courage to ask.
Yeah.
So,
and you mentioned the culture, from our childhood, suck it up and move on, drive through it, stand up for yourself, stand up on your own. We have some of that same culture in law enforcement. We're trying to move away from that. And that's what this podcast, this episode is really about, is to talk about these things. I think the more that we bring these things out in the open and the more that we talk about these things, the more likely we are to move past them and actually adapt better ways of learning our fears, moving through and past our fears.
Absolutely.
So with that being said, what do you think is the most critical skill that a police officer could master to overcome their fears or self-doubt in order to thrive today?
Absolutely. This is my favorite topic of all. Master yourself. Self-awareness is the number one skill for anybody, especially those in first responder kind of roles. Look, not everybody, you guys know this, I know this from being one myself, not a very small percentage of all the people who will ever live do well in chaos, right? And the job of being a police officer, a military person, a paramedic, a fireman, that you get thrown into chaos constantly. And the reason I think self-awareness is so important, knowing who you are, setting your mind, even on the way to the call, whatever the call is, you can think negatively about the call you're about to go to, or you can be preparing your mind on the way in positive ways so that when you arrive on the scene, you can deal with what happens, right? And what is happening. And you'll be ready for it. But you have to be self-aware and know when, okay, the domestic one, that pushes my buttons, right? It makes me angry. The car wreck, that makes me sad. I mean, you got self-awareness, knowing how you react to things in life is critical. And I can't say, it's not fair for me to say, well, the way I react, Mike, if you react like me, you'll be fine. That's a bunch of crap, because you and I are unique individuals. We have lived different life experiences every day of our life. So everything we ever go to, we see through the filter of everything else we've ever seen in our life. So there is nothing, I don't have any 7-step program that'll guarantee success. None of it. That's all hogwash. It's individual. And this is where the journey training, and that's what we help you see you and help you understand how you can make choices to be the best you. And when you can do that, then you can handle any situation that you are thrown into or walk into or comes in front of you. You can handle what life sends your way. And it goes to work, to family, anything. That's why I go back to my whole premise. If I can help somebody be the best person they can be, they're going to be the best officer they can be. because they're going to be standing in a